Before I ask you for further questions, if you have any, then there are two things that I'd like to explain from today. Otherwise, we won't get to that, and then there'll be more things from tomorrow. One is concerning, I believe he used the term substantial cause. Is that the term he used? Yeah, that works in some cases, but the actual word in both Sanskrit and Tibetan means to obtain. It is the obtaining cause. It is what will actually obtain for you the result. And it can be either something physical, but it can also be mental. Things have can function as obtaining causes. So the classic example, there are two types. One is that no longer, it transforms into the result. So like a seed giving rise to a sprout, and when the result arises, it no longer exists. And the other is something that, like for instance, the elements will continue to exist in the result. Physical elements, earth, water, fire, and wind, according to the Tibetan scheme. So now the question is what provides, what is the obtaining cause for the, and then it is supported by cooperative, simultaneously acting conditions. So, in the, if we speak just in terms of rebirth, that's one area. What gives rise to the form body in the bardo and in the death, and what gives rise to a rupakaya, form body of a Buddha. So two issues that need to be analyzed. And the analogy that Rinpoche was using was the body that appears in dreams. And it's not just body, but all the sense objects, sound, smell, taste, physical sensation, these sort of things. And these are so-called subtle elements that are only knowable by the mind. They would be in that category of, what shall we say? When they talk about forms of phenomenon that can only be known by the mind, there's a list of 5 of them. They include vows. They include an empty space between, of distance. This type of thing. Also, tiny things that can't be seen, like particles, stuff like that. The imaginary forms. So this would be like in dreams or in visualizations, and then forms that you can actually, make manifest when you have special powers. So there's these 5. And although it's not listed separately, there would be, these are made of subtle particles, subtle elements, I should say, subtle elements. You also have subtle elements in the form realm. It's a different type of elements. than in the realm of desirable objects. So I'd call them the realm of, or plane of ethereal forms. And then there's a discussion of the formless beings, do they have a form? And there's in some of the explanations, you find that you'd have to say that there has to be a continuity of the form aggregate. It can't that be that there is no form aggregate. And so this would be, very, very subtle elements that are there. So in terms of what would be the obtaining cause, the obtaining cause has to be in the same category of phenomenon as the result. So this is the whole discussion of how physical matter can't give rise to a mind. That mind has to come from mind, matter has to come from matter. So then the issue is, well, what about if the consciousness goes to future lives, and we're not talking about the subtlest wind in the Nuttara Yoga Tantra, but leave it on the sutra level, what's going on here? And here is, we can say either the very subtle elements that you would have in terms of what formless realm beings would have. That's one explanation that would continue in death existence and bardo existence and rebirth. Or another way, which Kadapche was referring to but needs to be filled out from what Rinpoche said, is that, remember, in the discussion of karma, we had that there was the, in terms of throwing karma, what is going to ripen into the aggregates of a future lifetime, that there are what should we say? Those that are in actions of the mind are just the urging, this mental factor, and those that are in actions of the body and speech, those are forms, revealing forms and non-revealing forms. Revealing form ends when the motion is finished, when it actually, kills the mosquito. Sound is finished, and this I've not had a terribly good explanation of, when, let's say, there is no further revealing form when you, for instance, you shoot somebody and they don't die instantly. It takes them a couple days to die. So you no longer have the motion of the body. So what is actually connecting to the result? And probably you'd have to say, in this system, which asserts not revealing forms, that a non-revealing form arises at the same time. If the action has a strong disturbing emotion, which it would be in the 10 destructive actions, or in the 10 constructive actions, it would have, strong ignorance, then it generates both a revealing form and a non-revealing form. And the non-revealing form continues after the revealing form no longer, the motion isn't happening, or the uttering of the words of a lie. You lied, by giving somebody a voice message, and then, they don't listen to it until later. And the conclusion is only reached when the person believes it. If they don't believe it, if they think that, they're hearing you're speaking nonsense, or they didn't hear what you said, or they didn't understand what you said, It's not a lie. It's just idle chatter. It devolves into meaningless talk, meaningless chatter. So anyway, so I think it would have to be explained as the non-revealing form, reaches it. But anyway, the non-revealing form goes on, and non-revealing forms are one of these 5 types of phenomenon. Not just vows, but not all non-revealing forms would fall into this category, that are the made of subtle elements. They're made of elements, and that's the mechanism is described very elaborately by Vasubandhu of how they are carried on, how they go from moment to moment to moment. And you would have to, so what Rinpoche was saying, what Kedabje was saying, I should say, is that you have this term, Paklanyel, which means dormant, sleeping under the surface, literally. And there's many different varieties of these, but this would include potentials, tendencies, these type of things, which are, among the type of phenomenon, non-static phenomenon, things that change. There are forms, forms of, what do I call it? Forms of physical phenomenon. So it could be sight, sound, smells, taste, physical sensations, and these subtle forms. There and elements, the physical elements. And then there are ways of being aware of things, ways of knowing. Can't call them mental phenomenon. That, what does that mean? But these are a way of being aware of something. Either you are aware of the essential nature of something, that's a consciousness, or it helps that. Those are the mental factors. And then there are so-called non-congruent affecting variables. Thank you very much. They are non-congruent, which means that they do not share 5 things in common with the consciousness and the mental factors. So they're not taking the same object, and although they could be occurring at the same time, they don't have all 5, is the point. And these are sometimes translated as, or explained as, neither form nor physical or ways of knowing something, but that doesn't work for some things, alaya vijnana. It doesn't work for foundation consciousness, so it is not valid. You'd have to stick with denmin duce. It's an affecting variable, that's duce, and denmin, it doesn't possess the 5 things in common.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the technical term?
In Tibetan, denmin duce.
English, please.
Non-congruent, congruent, like in geometry, so it's not, the same, it doesn't have the same things. Affecting variable. Duce is an affecting variable. Sometimes it's the same word as conditioned phenomenon. It is affected by other things, and it affects further things. So then when you speak in terms of, if you pay attention to the milking the meaning from the words, the second link is that same word. So it is an affecting factor, karma as an affecting factor. And what does it affect? It affects rebirth. And what type of suffering does it give? All-pervasive suffering. Well, that is all-pervasive affecting suffering. The actual word is the same word, affecting, just in a different grammatical form. It's the same word. So it is, and that kyapche, the all-pervasive affecting variables, that all-pervasive part of it is not in the Sanskrit. It's just affecting, the affecting suffering, affects future lives. That type of thing. So, all that meaning is there in the word used for the second link. That's why karmic formations doesn't give that meaning. In any case, the word paklanyel, dormant factor, sleeping factor, would include these. It's used for many different things. Just for your information, it's filled with all sorts of facts. The hard to control not sharing them. So I was trained that you have to share everything that you know. This is what's explained when we are sleeping. When we are sleeping, then the sense consciousness is, not working. It is the winds have withdrawn from the sense. The cognitive senses. The photosensitive cells of the eyes, the sound sensitive of the ears, and so on. But mental consciousness is working. So the mental consciousness is aware, but the person is not aware. So when you are asleep, you're not aware of the sound of the clock, for example, but the consciousness is aware. And because of that, you can hear the alarm clock. If the consciousness because the sound is coming into the consciousness, but you're not aware of it. But when it gets, really significantly loud, then you hear it too. And that's how we can wake up. So it's very interesting. Anyway, it's wonderful. The Buddhist theory explains so much that is hard to explain. So anyway, we have these dormant, different things that are dormant. So what Rinpoche was saying, what Kedabje was saying, was that the mental fact, the karma, the urging, that's involved with actions of the mind, that continues as a dormant factor and goes on into, that would be the obtaining cause for the consciousness in death and bardo and rebirth. But he said that but for the form aggregate, that this would be the paksha, the imprint. And so the imprint means the potential, in a sense, of the elements. And so this is why it is the whole explanation of karma in terms of non-revealing forms, vows, and so on, but even non-revealing forms from, let's say you do something positive, you rejoice, or you not rejoice because that's mental, but you donate, to the monastic community, or you donate something that is a benefit to others, and so on. That would provide continuity, and that would become, it becomes a potential, and that potential then would, it wouldn't be the same type of potential as a tendency, I mean, something from a mental factor, but it's a similar type of thing, that would be the obtaining cause that would give rise to the body in the bardo and the body in when you are born, together with the elements of the parents' sperm and egg. So you have this non-revealing form having the elements that goes into in a subtle form, subtle, like the form aggregate of a formless being. That there is continuity like that, and this is explained in the Kalachakra Tantra very nicely, because in the Kalachakra Tantra, it speaks about the subtlest, in the Guhya Samaja system, if I might share this with you. The Guhya Samaja system, you have the subtlest mind and the subtlest wind. And that's all that's explained there that goes on into future lives. Kalachakra adds the subtlest drop and the subtlest sound. And so the subtlest drop has in it traces of the elements. And this is on the inner level, and on the external level, that is the space particle. Space particle has the traces of the elements, so that in between eons there will be continuity, so the obtaining causes of matter during the, because the universe goes through cycles. And so how is it that matter emerges from the Big Bang? This is the space particle that Kalachakra speaks of, and parallel to that internally is the subtlest drop. And that has the traces of the elements, and that goes on. And subtlest speech for the same thing in terms of sound, of speech, communication. So Kalachakra fills in. When we think of the Kalachakra teachings, this is Kalachakra place, so I don't think it's inappropriate to mention it, that, and the old Serkong Rinpoche, taught me an awful lot about Kalachakra. And so we shouldn't just think of it in terms of, sadhana and the visualizations and, all ritual stuff, but there's a tremendous amount of theory that's in there, which really helps to explain so much in terms of how appearances are made through these winds of karma and so on. There's a lot in there that is very, very helpful in terms of filling in how everything works. So anyway, little thing that's there. So it's the same thing with the two networks or collections. I prefer network because the positive potential, so-called merit and sin, or whatever you want to call it, it's not that you are collecting them like stamps in an album. And if you get enough stamps, then you win a prize or something like that. It's not like that. But they network together in the sense that, you build if you repeat the type of action it was, that you are a fisherman and you kill a lot of fish, every day, then the strength of those karmic potentials, amplify each other. So they affect each other. They network together. Or if you oppose it, with opponent actions and, karmic potential, then it weakens its force. So it's not as though the result is sitting inside waiting to come out. That's the Samkhya position that is refuted. But there isn't any result sitting there yet. It's all being affected by your further behavior. what the result will be. And there needs to be the circumstances for a result to arise. It gets quite complicated. But in any case, you have these two networks, positive force and deep awareness. You have samsara building and enlightenment building versions of these. So this was actually Geshe Wangchen, who was really incredibly learned one. He was the tutor for the young Ling Rinpoche. And he explained that collection, actually, that's not the meaning of the Sanskrit word. So he knew some Sanskrit that it actually means building up, something that builds up to a result. And so there's either samsara building, positive force that will lead to either suffering or the suffering of change. Either worse rebirth in situations or better rebirth in better situations. And there is, if it's dedicated to liberation, it will build up liberation, getting liberation. If it's dedicated to enlightenment, it will build up to enlightenment. That's why I was saying that the default setting is that it goes into the samsara building. And then you want to have the liberation and enlightenment building in terms of the deep awareness. It's deep awareness of voidness. And the one that really will work toward, enlightenment is what you get with non-conceptual cognition. It only really starts there, of voidness. So anyway, the network of positive forces, the obtaining cause for the form body, and it is helped the coordinating simultaneously arising condition is the deep awareness one, and for the deep awareness Dharmakaya, the omniscient mind of a Buddha, that is reversed. So deep awareness one is the obtaining cause. That's why substantial doesn't really work, because that sounds like matter. So it's the obtaining cause for the deep awareness or wisdom Dharmakaya, and that's helped by the positive force. You need 3 zillion eons of building that up to get the Dharmakaya of a Buddha. So now the question is, what if that Dharmakaya, if the network of positive force is only potentials of a mental factor, of a way of knowing something, how can that function as the obtaining cause for the form body of a Buddha? And this is why bodhisattva vows are so important, because they are the non-revealing forms. They are made of subtle elements. They will continue as part of, and its positive force from that goes as part of the, network of positive force, and that can act as the obtaining cause for the form body of a Buddha. And it is closer because it's done with various different types of behavior, refraining from doing this or that, and so on. And so it is closer to the result. And in Anuttara Yoga Tantra, or just Tantra in general, visualizing yourself in the form of a Buddha is even a closer positive force in the aggregate, in the network of positive force. So that's why, that's explained, that it's so important to, what is the significance of visualizing yourself in the form of the body, of a body, of an yidam. You are building up closer causes that are closer to the result of a form body. So again, it's form. Yes, you had a question?
Usually we hear the explanation
die Batterie vielleicht, als blinkt.
I try to speak as loud as possible.
Yes, and then I'll try to remember. Yes, no, I mean, of course.
Well, the common explanation we usually get is the tantric explanation, the subtle wind and the subtle mind. So the subtle wind as form transforms first to the illusory body and then to the Rupakaya.
Right, exactly.
Is that compatible with this explanation of the non-revelatory form?
Yes.
How?
Usually we hear that the illusory body is the obtaining cause for the form body of a Buddha, and in the generation stage where we imagine it, that's a cause for gaining illusory body, and it is made of the subtlest wind. So so it's form. So it is consistent with the bodhisattva vows also contributing to because that also would be form. So it's not contradictory on the level of it being that a form is a closer cause to a form which is the Rupakaya, and that the cause and the result are the same type of phenomenon.
Yes, both are forms.
Right.
So but different forms. So what is so as far as I understood so far, there's only one obtaining cause and contributing factors. So which one is the obtaining cause? Which one are the contributing factors?
Well, usually, so I mean, she's saying that there's usually just one obtaining cause, and so if which one is the obtaining cause? The subtlest wind in the Anuttara Yoga Tantra system. I mean, it's interesting in the other three classes of Tantra, they don't speak about subtlest wind, and yet it's still said that the body that you are working with in that, of visualizing yourself as a Buddha, still that will be a closer cause for form body. So as you're saying, well, how can vows, bodhisattva vows, be also a obtaining cause? Well, usually when when they speak about in Anuttara Yoga Tantra, they don't really speak about the role of bodhisattva vows. The main emphasis is the discussion of illusory body. Or bliss, for that matter. Bliss is on the inseparability of voidness and bliss, and that bliss is the method side. So bliss is on the basis of the drops, of the white and red bodhicitta, or just the stacking of the drops in Kalachakra. So there's some sort of form thing that is the basis of that. I mean, I really don't know the answer to what you're saying. Should there be only one obtaining cause, and would it be an auxiliary obtaining cause, or what it would be? But what I find very significant about the bodhisattva vow is that, the question is, why is there so much emphasis on not giving up the bodhisattva vow even at the cost of your life? So this comes in with a discussion of, well, is there because sometimes there's the way that it's formulated, is there a first time that you develop bodhicitta for the first time? And logically, there can't be a first time if there's no beginning. So why hasn't, because the question is, why hasn't everybody already become enlightened? Right? If everybody has been our mother in a previous lifetime, why hasn't everybody already achieved enlightenment? So we analyze this in our class, and everybody has been our mother because, and we checked this we came up with a reason, one of my students did, and a proof of it. And then we checked it with the Geshe who founded the Tsenshab, and he said there's a valid argument for it. And the reason is if there is a finite number of sentient beings and an infinite amount of time, because we asked, a mathematician to work this out, but it was a non-mathematician who got that. Finite number of sentient beings, infinite number of time, everybody is equal. Why hasn't, how is it that everybody's even your mother? And the answer is, because everybody is equal, if there was one sentient being who was never our mother, then by that same logic, there would be, if there was one sentient being who could not become a Buddha, since everybody was equal, now I'm getting it confused how you say it, but if, how do I say it? How do we say that? If there was, if there was any sentient being who could not become a Buddha because everybody was equal, then there could be any sentient being who could never be who was never our mother, including our mother of this lifetime, because everybody is equal. If everybody, is if everybody is equal, I'm getting it confused. I'm sorry. If there was one sentient being who was never our mother, I'm confusing it with it becoming enlightened, so put that to aside. If there was one sentient being who could not be our mother, who was never our mother, then because everybody was equal, then nobody could be our mother, could ever be our mother, because they could all equally have the possibility of never having been our mother, including our mother of this lifetime. That was the argument. And the Geshe said, yes, that's valid. If there was one that was never our mother, then nobody could ever, everybody could have been not our mother, including the mother of this lifetime. But the thing with bodhicitta, to become enlightened, you need to have bodhicitta. So it's not a question of when was the first time when you develop bodhicitta. What you want to avoid is the first time that you lose bodhicitta. We have taken bodhicitta and we have given up bodhicitta countless number of times. And the reason why we haven't become enlightened is because we have never given up bodhicitta. So you want to never give it up, even at the cost of your life, because it will continue into future lives, because that is the only way that you will ever become enlightened, is to never give it up. That's very good. Very good. People in my class, very good. Working that out.
Can you
logically.
repeat that, please? I didn't get it.
We have taken bodhicitta vows and given up bodhicitta vows countless times.
Okay.
Why are we not enlightened already? Why isn't everybody enlightened already? Because we need a first time that we have not given up the bodhisattva vow, even at the cost of our life. That we have not given it up all the way up to enlightenment.
That has never happened.
No, that's why we aren't all enlightened.
Oh.
It's only somebody who has never given it up could actually achieve enlightenment. And then it becomes even stronger that it is one of the obtaining causes for the body of a Buddha, the physical, the Rupakaya form body of a Buddha.
Because of
In
the
sutra.
continuity.
Pardon?
Because of the continuity.
Because of the
habit
continuity, right. Because of the continuum, like that. So anyway, this has taken an awful lot of time.
But what makes it happen that you don't give up bodhicitta?
Influence of the guru, what should we say? Strong compassion. You know, the question was what makes that we don't give up bodhicitta. So you don't give up bodhicitta because of the circumstances, well, the causes for bodhicitta, you know, compassion, love, etc. Why do you give up bodhicitta? Because you think it's too hard. You know, I've built up 2 zillion eons, I've become liberated, it's too hard to develop, you know, to build up the third one. You give up bodhicitta. Because it's too hard, and there are too many beings, and then you get discouraged.
But something must be different. Until, you know, if you have had bodhicitta vows many or infinite times.
And given them up infinite times.
Yes. And one time, something must be different.
Well, yes, and that is the inspiration of the you know, usually, I mean, because I've asked that question as well, and usually the answer is in terms of the you know, having the guru lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and the inspiration of the guru. And also seeing the guru as a Buddha. I mean, that's so misunderstood. But seeing the guru as a Buddha, what is the whole purpose of that? It certainly isn't that literally they are the Buddha, as I always joke that, you know, they don't know the telephone number of every being on the planet. So, you know, just because so that's not the point of being a Buddha. The point is bodhicitta. If you can't see the guru as a Buddha, is a Buddha, not as a Buddha, is a Buddha, in terms of Buddha, you know, you know, Buddha nature factors and so on, you'll never be able to see yourself with bodhicitta in terms of aiming for my own future enlightenment. So if you can see it in the guru, then you can see it in yourself. So that's why you have all these visualizations of the qualities and everything of the guru coming into you. So it is a focus for, you know, being able to always have your mind focused on enlightenment. That you see that in terms of the guru, and then I can, you know, I have Buddha nature as well, I can become like that. And then you incorporate, you know, when, I think it was Gampopa, when I saw the inseparability of my guru's mind and my mind, I realized Mahamudra. And, you know, the same type of Buddha nature factors are there. So that's the whole significance of the guru is a Buddha. Literally is a Buddha, as His Holiness explains, is only that they literally are a Buddha to be able to give the fourth initiation. Before that, they don't have to be a Buddha. You see them as a Buddha, but they don't have to literally be a Buddha to be able to actually give the definitive fourth initiation, because that's on the basis of seeing the two truths simultaneously.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? The last sentence? So
Because the fourth initiation in a Nuttara Yoga Tantra is to be able to see cognize the two truths inseparably. And so the guru who gives that has to be a Buddha, because only a Buddha sees the two truths simultaneously. Before that, they don't have to literally be a Buddha. His Holiness, that's His Holiness's explanation. But that doesn't what should we say? That doesn't, not disqualify, but that doesn't negate the importance of, in terms of bodhicitta, of seeing the Guru is a Buddha, not acts as a substitute for the Buddha, the other levels of it. And the main thing that they give you is inspiration, to follow their example. It's not to just give information, because information you can get from a book or from the internet.
So, when we say we have achieved shamatha, infinite.
Microphone.
When we say we have sentient beings who have achieved shamatha many, many times before, we have been born in the form and formless realms infinite times before, and
Right.
we have lost these states of
We've lost
concentration
them.
again.
Right.
Are we saying here that with uncontracted bodhicitta it's the same? That we have
lost our we've given up our bodhisattva
we've
vows.
given up our
Right.
bodhisattva vows.
You have to give them up. Either consciously give them up, or by giving up bodhicitta, or having distorted view. I mean, the two ways of losing the vows. Right. Okay. Yes, please.
I have a question in a different topic now. Would that be okay, or shall we continue with
Yes.
that?
I mean, I would like to explain the difference between what he was calling what did he call it? Pristine wisdom and consciousness, something like that.
Exalted wisdom. Exalted wisdom.
Exalted wisdom. Not accurate, because even a worm has it, so that's not on the basis level, so not wisdom and not exalted. But anyway, that's another topic to explain, the difference between the two. But your question?
Thank you so much for your explanation. I think I got a grasp now, a slight grasp now, but the continuation of form. But what I'm struggling with in the teachings today, why is karma a cause for consciousness? So the whole reasoning, why is there no end to consciousness? And the way I understood it, so the phrasing was, karma feeds consciousness, so that implies to me karma is the cause for consciousness. So how does that work?
Well, it's not it depends on what you mean by cause. It certainly doesn't create consciousness, but the whole question was in terms of the continuity. And if the throwing karma is, if the karmic potentials, you have all these karmic potentials, and these are either constructive or destructive potentials we're talking about, because they're also unspecified tendencies, that's something else. But these two, destructive and constructive ones, are paklinyel, they're sleeping. So they are non-congruent affecting variables. They go along with the mental continuum, and with your having perished one moment, and then the next having perished and having perished. And then you have to activate them. And so the links of the clinging, craving, I think it's you call it, thirsting is the Sanskrit word, and obtainer attitude is the same word, obtaining, it's what obtains your future life, activates it. So now it becomes a karmic, an impulse again. So what kind of impulse? It is an urging that's going to poke the mental consciousness to continue into a future life, into bardo, into future. So in that sense, it creates the continuity of consciousness into future lives. And if, as an arhat, you through the understanding of voidness, you do no longer have the craving or thirsting and the obtainer attitude, the obtainer factor, then there's nothing that will activate karmic potentials. And if there's nothing that will activate it, there's no throwing karma. If there's no throwing karma, there's nothing that will provide the continuity after, you die, after you've achieved nirvana with no residue.
There's no continuity in rebirth, but why should it?
This is the three ultimate vehicle, the three final vehicles explanation.
Yeah, right.
Okay, it's okay. Now we go to the one final vehicle, and a Buddha has, the mental factor of urging is still there. It's part of the ever-functioning things. When a Buddha, remember we have, with a Buddha, there is untainted karma. So there's untainted karma of an arhat, which is that, seeing everything as like an illusion, but it still appears to be truly existent. And so on the basis of acting like that, there is untainted karma. It's untainted by believing in the, appearance of true existence that corresponds to reality. For a Buddha, it's like an illusion, but there's no, appearance. The mind is not making an appearance of truly established existence, and a Buddha acts. And so there is a revealing form as well of a Buddha helping others, manifesting in different forms and so on. So you'd have to say that there is this untainted karma of a Buddha. And so why does that, bring about continuity? Well, you'd have to say from the urging, there's always continuity. It's going to bring another, because of the shikpa, for example, the having perished of, the samsaric, rebirth, and having perished of that, having perished of that, having perished of that, having perished of that, and so on, you would get continuity. I'm just making this up, by reasoning, but just figuring it out. I mean, that's what you have to do, is try to figure things out. And then, there's my theory, and then there's the objection to it, and then you have to answer the objection to it. Now, the problem with figuring it out is that the clever mind can make sense out of, complete, nonsense. That's the danger of a clever mind. So you always have to then question the theory that you've come up with, but that's, how, on the basis of that untainted karma of the enlightening activity of a Buddha, the enlightening influence, you'd have to say that there is, continuity. The Buddha is not going to stop benefiting others. This is what, Rinpoche said, there is never a time when a Buddha is not benefiting others. Whether it is in this universe or some other universe, there can be the dark ages of our universe, but that doesn't mean that a Buddha is not manifesting in some other, universe. So there's a whole multiverse idea already in Buddhism.
This line of reasoning
Mm-hmm.
is
Was there a microphone?
Yeah. This line of reasoning, is that mainly in order to refute the three final vehicles and the end of consciousness?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. That comes in the Chittamatra. I think it's sub-schools within Chittamatra has that discussion. And then that would go into Svatantrika, where you talk about the stages of the path, and Prajnaparamita would come in there as well. That a final vehicle or can an arhat develop bodhicitta and go on to, because there are two types of arhats. I forget the technical term, but one that stays as an arhat and one that goes on to become a Buddha. And the mental body, an arhat's body is a mental body as well as a Buddha's body is, an untainted mental body, in a sense. It's complicated. Everything's complicated. Welcome to the world of Buddhism.
So having perished is a short thing.
Short microphone also.
So is having perished considered something rather than nothing?
Oh, yeah, it's a non-static phenomenon. It's not a nothing. A nothing can't do anything. And for Vaibhashika doesn't talk about it, but for Prasangika, it's non-static. I'm not sure, at what stage it's actually posited or asserted, but for, I think, probably at least for Tantrika, they would say that it's static. If it has perished, it's finished. It's not going to change from that.
It's perished, but it's still something that... It's perished, but it's still something that can...
Well, it's not a self-established something because things arise and perish simultaneously.
It's able to perform a function?
Having perished, the function would be for the having perished of the having perished, and the having perished of the having perished of the having perished. This is what provides the continuity, because its nature is a perishing. That's the essential nature of a having perished, is that it is a perishing. So it perishes as soon as it arises.
But wouldn't that be
It works
the same?
better in Tibetan, but that makes sense even in English,
But
doesn't it?
Wouldn't then anything that perishes also be able to do that?
Anything there's the perishing of everything. So it's not just karma. Nothing lasts. Everything is, non-static, except for static phenomenon, space and voidness and, these sort of things. True stoppings. They're not affected. Static means not affected by anything. Non-static means that it is affected by causes and conditions and will produce a result. That's the meaning. It's not talking about forever or temporary. And then within things that are non-static, there are those which degenerate, like the body, and those that do not degenerate, like the mental continuum. So there's that distinction. And then there's some things that have a beginning and no end, something that have a no beginning but an end, something that have both, Buddhism.
And often we use the words permanent.
Samsara has no beginning
impermanent.
but can have an end. And so it's like that. Yeah.
And usually we hear those as permanent and impermanent.
And that is the problem, because permanent can mean either eternal or not changing. So when in the non-Gelugpa systems, they say the mind is permanent, that doesn't mean that it doesn't change from moment to moment. It means that it's eternal, and the Gelugpas would agree. And the Gelugpas say that it is impermanent, and they freak out because they take it to mean that it comes to an end. So definition, you have to look at the definition of the terms. And so many of the terms are defined differently in the different tenet systems and by the different Tibetan schools. Yes, we're not going to get to Yeshe Namshe, consciousness and deep awareness.
Can we also go over
We have
the
a few
verse
more
Pardon?
we
days.
went today?
Can we what?
Also go over the verse we went today. It was quite
Can we
confusing.
go over?
No, not tonight, it's too late.
Can we go over what? I couldn't
The verse Rinpoche talked about.
the verse. Is that the word you're saying?
Yes. Because Rinpoche talked about verse 3 in the text,
Right.
and I was hoping we would do a review because it was quite confusing. Verse 3.
Well, everybody is tired. Pardon? Can I? Oh, my pill. Thank you. Ah, my stupidity. I didn't put it out. So I didn't thank you so much. Thank you so much. As I said, I'm supposed to take it 2 hours before going to sleep, before it will actually take effect. A little bit later. No, it's for restless leg syndrome. That, when you get older, the nerve degenerates, and then it causes this horrible twitching when you're in bed, which prevents you from falling asleep.
That's terrible.
Right? 2 hours before this medicine will take effect. Anyway,
Can I still
it
ask?
is really when you have old age that you really appreciate that the aggregates are suffering. Then you really understand that they are suffering.
Is it too late to ask the question? Yes. Okay.
Well, we will have time. Oh. Let's try to ask the question doesn't have to be short. Let's try me to have a short answer. Short answer, just one. Just
It is-
one question.
It fits to the topic, so maybe it's a good time to ask. It's about the Shikpa, and because I know, but I think it's
The
maybe
having perished.
the having perished. Yes. So it sounds to me it's like very complicated language. So my question is it fair to say that you could, maybe it's not exactly covering the meaning of it, but could you say that something comes to an of that coming to an end is lost? There's something basically left that you could call information. Maybe you can even call it this non-compositional factor, which is neither matter nor mind, that continues. Is that a way to kind of conceptualize it, which is sounds less complicated?
Well, no. That's the short answer.
Okay.
Just a few words. Very few words. Very few words. The Shikpa is a negation phenomenon. Like a no longer happening is equivalent to a no longer happening, so it's not information, it's a negation without further explanation. Okay? All right.
Okay.
That's the reason why the no. Okay, dedication. Shi Buki Chu Shi Me To Tang Rirafli Shi Ni De Genbadi Sangye Shing Du Migde Uwaki Jokun Nanta Shing La Jubasho Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Yatayami To Rinpoche Mage Banam Geguche Gebanam Mebaya Kone Kontu Belwasho.
Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure. I still would like to explain Yeshe Nansha. Tomorrow. No, I'm not saying now. But it is an important thing to understand the distinction between the two. And it certainly is not exalted wisdom, since the worm has it.